Women stuck in a time warp on the next Oprah Winfrey Show.
This is Channel 7 Eyewitness News with John Burry, Marianne Childers, Steve Dessler with weather, Tim Weigel with sports, and the Eyewitness News team. This is Eyewitness News.
Together. Good evening. Dozens of angry protesters fought security guards at a Chicago school board meeting today. The demonstrators say the meeting was illegal. Dick Johnson was there when the battle broke out.
A coalition of black, Hispanic, and white community activists declared this meeting of the interim school board illegal, demanding Mayor Daley abide by the reform law, which suggests a new board of 15 should be in place by now.
The interim board is in violation of the law by meeting here today in clear defiance of the spirit and intent of the School Board Reform Act, which mandates their extinction by May 15th. The mayor is trying his best to keep this interim board seated so that he might give contracts to his friends.
The noise of the demonstration forced the board to meet in another room, opening the way for one protester and then all of them to mix it up with security guards while trying to occupy board members' seats. Board President Jim Compton believes the reform law is clear and the mayor is in the right.
The law says very clearly that the interim board remains in place until May 15, 1990, or until such time as it is replaced, whichever comes later.
No one should interfere. I mean, the interim school board has to carry on their responsibilities, and that's what they have to do.
The so-called education mayor has an image to worry about with an election a year away. He believes the embarrassing potshots are politically motivated, while the protesters believe Daley's handling of the school board appointments has been equally political. At the school board, Dick Johnson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, the principal of Pickard Elementary School today filed a $250,000 lawsuit against school superintendent Ted Kimbrough. Sylvia Aslani says that Kimbrough did not have the right to suspend her. She allegedly encouraged walkouts and protests over the involuntary transfer of children from the school. Marianne?
John, a 12-year-old girl with a life-threatening heart problem is back at Children's Memorial Hospital tonight. Kimberly Winfield's mother took her from the hospital last week. Mrs. Winfield surrendered today with the help of Channel 7's Russ Ewing.
It was a traumatic decision for Mrs. Carolyn Winfield. Her daughter Kimberly has a heart disease which could be fatal without medical care. But her mother is a member of a church which does not believe in blood transfusions. And for that reason, the two have been hiding out for a week. Today, she agreed to talk about returning, and I agreed not to try to force her.
Her having surgery doesn't really say she's going to stay alive either. You know, they can't say that. They're not God.
They're not God, and this child is a life separate from yours, and you're not God either.
Yeah, I know I'm not God either, but God is, you know, and he's been taking care of her through these whole months that she's gotten sick.
All right.
And I had my rights then, you know. Now they're taking all that away from me, and they just want to do what they want to do.
While we talked with Mrs. Winfield here in this park, she looked at these trees behind us. She looked at the birds bathing in last night's rainwater, and she said, how did we get ourselves into all this? All we want to do is lead a decent life like everyone else.
You do want to live and play and do the things that other children do, don't you? I'm sure you do. Well, not really. Not really. She's feeling good today. She may not feel good tomorrow. Let's do what's right, please. I beg you, let's do what's right.
Finally, she made the decision to walk back into the hospital from which she took the 12-year-old a week ago. Police charged her with abduction, and she could face a jail sentence. But a source high up in the state's attorney's office said, in this case, understanding will be more important than punishment. Russ Ewing, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And tonight, another surrender to Russ Ewing, this time by a man wanted for a double murder in northwest Indiana. 26-year-old Charles Roach Jr. turned himself in to police in Gary, Indiana tonight. Roach was wanted for allegedly killing two men in Gary last Friday. Police arrested Roach's father and another man, but Roach says they did not commit the crime. Roach, by the way, is the 83rd murder suspect to surrender to Channel 7's Russ Ewing.
Marianne, a Cook County jail inmate who escaped over the weekend is back in custody tonight. 29-year-old Keith Anderson, wanted on a robbery charge, was apprehended by sheriff's police. Authorities believe a tower guard may have assisted in the escape. A second inmate, 21-year-old Joel Davis, is still at large. 2 suspects are charged with attempted murder tonight following last night's shooting of a Chicago undercover officer. 3 others are being held on drug charges. It all began when Officer Eric Sanders was setting up a drug deal. The suspects then tried to rob Sanders and to shoot at him even after he identified himself as a police officer. Sanders remains hospitalized tonight in good condition. And Illinois investigators are on their way to Indianapolis tonight, where police found 3 bodies in the trunk of a car with Illinois plates. The bodies were found stacked on top of each other, wrapped in a blanket. Authorities believe tonight's discovery is linked to a family missing from Bradbury, Illinois. Police say it's apparent that 2 of the victims were an elderly man and a woman. Marianne.
John Sammy Davis Jr., who overcame racial discrimination to become one of the world's greatest entertainers, died today at his Hollywood home. Davis, who was 64, lost an 8-month fight against throat cancer.
I gotta be me, I gotta be me.
He was a part of the American entertainment scene for more than 60 years. Davis began his career on the vaudeville circuit at the tender age of 18 months. He made his movie debut by his 4th birthday in the 1928 film Rufus Jones for President. In the 50s, he became a member of Hollywood's legendary Rat Pack, making appearances with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. An actor, singer, dancer, and impressionist, the exuberant Davis lived hard and fast. In 1954, his career was temporarily sidetracked after a car accident in which he lost an eye. Later, he also faced drug and alcohol problems, but Davis always bounced back.
I thought that Sammy Davis was the world's greatest entertainer. He could do anything.
As his career neared its end, his friends paid tribute to the entertainer.
To you, Sam, you know I love you. I can't say it any more than that. You're my brother.
Funeral services for Sammy Davis Jr. will be held in Los Angeles on Friday.
And Jim Henson, the man known to millions as the creator of the Muppets, has died at the age of 53. He was taken to a New York hospital last night suffering from a massive bacterial infection. Among his most familiar accomplishments, Kermit the Frog.
Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection.
Henson's other characters on Sesame Street were a part of growing up for many children over the years. Recently, Henson spoke of his move to sell the rights to his Muppet puppets to the Disney Company.
I'm able to concentrate more on just the production end of things, which is what I like doing the most.
Henson was working on some of those projects right up until his death. Disney officials say his death adds a note of uncertainty to some of the projects now in production. Marianne.
Still ahead tonight, the president makes an urgent plea to Congress to put off next week's Memorial Day recess. And thunderstorms bring flooding throughout much of southern Illinois. President Bush tonight is calling for Congress to delay next week's Memorial Day recess until it passes his $800 million foreign aid packages for Nicaragua and Panama. The president says it's urgent that the lawmakers act, and soon. Mr. Bush, who's frustrated because the aid packages have been stalled, says the lawmakers' inaction is threatening democracy in the 2 Latin American countries.
The situation in Nicaragua is critical. Mrs. Chamorro's government is absolutely bankrupt. And there are strikes and demonstrations in the streets.
Bush, who opened budget talks yesterday with congressional leaders, said nothing about the possibility of tax increases. He says that they'll present taxpayers with a, quote, bipartisan solution to the budget deficit.
Well, Mayor Daley and the entire city council paid a special tribute to the late Alderman Keith Caldwell today. His City Hall colleagues remembered him as a devoted family man and a friend. Caldwell is the 3rd alderman to die of a massive heart attack within a year. In other business, the council approved an amendment to the building code allowing the use of plastic pipes in some city buildings. Metal pipes, however, must still be used for drinking water. Violent thunderstorms plowed across Illinois early today, drenching some areas with nearly 4 inches of rain, flooding rivers and forcing evacuations. In Macon County, floodwaters capsized a boat carrying county emergency coordinators who were helping 6 families evacuate the area. Near Springfield, about 6 inches of water flooded the state's Emergency Operations Center, and a flash flood watch remains in effect for central and southern sections of the state.
Coming up on Eyewitness News, we'll take a tour of Maxwell Street, and we'll hear from a veteran vendor fighting to save his turf. Later in sports, did the Bulls sink the Sixers? We'll go live to the stadium for the answer.
After an uncertain day, the night looks a little bit better here in Chicago. There will be a nicer forecast for us tomorrow. I'll look at that in a second, but first, some other locations around the country for Thursday.
Tonight, Nightline and Ted Koppel pay tribute to two remarkable American talents, Sammy Davis Jr. and Jim Henson. Their careers and their impact on our lives tonight.
Steve, I think we're all a little thankful this evening the massive rain missed us.
Yes, for the most part, the rain did not hit the Chicagoland area. Heavier rains downstate caused some serious flooding, but now there are some showers around the area. They'll be gone by tomorrow. Here's a look at our weather in motion right now, which shows late blooming storms up from Missouri pushing toward the northeast. A couple of sprinkles in Iowa will also come our way. These will all gradually die out, go away. There will be some clearing skies for us tomorrow, and a much better day in store for us. So by 7 o'clock in the morning, there will be some fading gray around the area, temperature of around 54 degrees at that time. Right now, temperature is 63 for Lake Station, Vernon Hills at 61, at Frankfort now at 66 degrees. The lakefront features 67, 66 Midway, and 63 for O'Hare. Northwest winds, barometer on the rise. Humidity 75%. High today 73 and the low 62. The record was 94 set back in 1962. Record low 34 in 1888. Tomorrow sunrise at 5:29. Here's the current Midwestern satellite shot. Still a few bright clouds around, denoting some showers and a couple of thunder showers farther downstate. There are those sprinkles back out toward the west that I talked about. Here's a look at the radar, which shows the sprinkles around the area right now. There are some heavier showers in there, as you can see, passing off toward the east-northeast. They'll be out of here by the morning hours. Meanwhile, a look at the radar that shows the greater view down to the southwest of us. There are heavier showers down there. Temperatures here, though, mid-60s. There are some 50s and even some 40s back up toward the northwest. There is some cooler, drier air there. The forecast map for Thursday shows the clouds gradually lifting out. There will be some sunshine for us, a much nicer day, with daytime highs in the 60s, a pretty pleasant situation. Forecast for us for tonight does call for widely scattered showers to end. End, you say. Breezy and cooler, low temperature 53. Tomorrow, some sunshine, windy and pleasant, high 67. Tomorrow night, fair skies, less windy, low 45. Following day, Friday, some sunshine and mild, high 70. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, there will be a chance of a thunder shower each of those days, with 66 for us by Monday. So more moisture to batch for us this weekend.
Like we say, pleasant and mild.
Please.
Emotion.
Please.
Thanks, Steve. When we come back, Diane Burns takes another look at one of Chicago's most colorful streets and why its future could be fading. Plus, the Cubs hope last night's success rubs off on tonight's game. We'll show you the highlights later on. The University of Illinois at Chicago recently got approval from the city to expand the campus by 31 acres. And the $6 million buy may force the famous Maxwell Street market to relocate or shut down. Diane Burns joins us with tonight's Another Look. Diane.
Marianne and John, the U of IC believes the two institutions can coexist. The university plans to buy the land south of Maxwell Street all the way to the South Water Street market between Morgan and Halsted, and then relocate the Maxwell Street market within 3 years. At the heart of the market, Maxwell Street and Halsted, in the 1920s, the 60s, and today, a deal on anything and everything, and an education in the art of haggling.
Come on, give me $2.50 for that. How much is the good wood? I want $2.50 for the good wood.
$1. You can't beat the price, folks. $1.
Name it, and it's been sold here.
We sell the Spanish fly. We sell the sunglasses.
Much remains the same here, but some things like live music on practically every street corner have changed. The proposed expansion of the West Side campus of the University of Illinois will bring further change, if not the end of Maxwell Street.
What is to be gained here is the education of generations of Chicago area children.
It's an insult. Basically, it's an insult not only to my grandparents who came in this area at the turn of the century, but an insult to what I think education should really be.
Goldberg's family immigrated to Chicago in 1899 from Russia and survived by peddling on Maxwell Street. He's been here since 1937, along the way becoming boyhood friends with Nate Duncan, who's been operating Nate's Deli for 43 years.
It's going to be pretty sad. I've been here. This is my livelihood, my only livelihood I have. And when they do that, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
This is Taylor Street, just a couple of blocks away, and the center of one of the oldest, most colorful neighborhoods in Chicago. Mike Chiappetta grew up here and is a former Maxwell Street beat cop. His family moved twice as an emotional battle failed to stop U of I from building the main campus.
It's ironic, 45 years later, it's the same thing on Maxwell Street. The university is looming, a monster like a monster in the background. They are not considering the human element. They're not considering the history of people and friendships that have sprouted down there.
The city contemplates, and we contemplate, that the Maxwell Street market in a slightly shifted site will be around for a very long time to come.
But Florence Scala, who led the fight against the late Mayor Richard Daley over the main campus decades ago, is not optimistic.
No matter what it says that it's going to be helping the neighborhood in one way or another, that's never spelled out, and it has never really done it.
Most of the 100 or so merchants left belong to the Roosevelt Halstead Steering Committee, which is fighting the university's 40-year developmental plan. They'll try again to gain landmark status for Maxwell Street. And John and Marianne, more than 5,000 people still shop there on Sundays.
Thank you, Diane. Up next in sports, a rout at the stadium.
I think the Bulls were glad to be home.
Well, and now they're going on the road, but they're very happy about that, Marianne. It's on to Detroit to meet those world champion Pistons. Jim Rose live at the stadium. Jim, the Bulls had it going tonight.
Yes, they did, Tim. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen had a big night as the Bulls wore down, then knocked out Philadelphia to advance to the Eastern Conference Championships for the second year in a row. Now, by the third period, it was time to throw water on the fire, call in the dogs, because the hunt was over. Now, in that first period, it seemed like Philadelphia got every lucky bounce of the ball. Rick Mahorn gives the Sixers an 11-4 advantage. But near the end of the opening period, Sir Michael steals from Charles Barkley, feeds Scottie Pippen, who comes up with a sweet pass, and it's slam time. Now, near the end of the first half, Big Bill Cartwright puts the spin move on Mike Jaminski, and his slam gives the Bulls a 1-point lead. By the fourth period, the Sixers were done. Michael will grab the rebound, and he'll slam it home, a 91-89 lead. Then B.J. will steal. He'll feed Pippen, and Pippen seemed to want to prove that the adversity of his father's death would not alter his play. He was inspired.
The starting position wasn't any concern to me. Whether I started or not, I'm going to come out and spark the team any way that I can, whether it's defensive or offensively. And tonight I got my offense going real well, and I feel real good coming off the bench because the crowd kind of gave me a warm welcome back, and, you know, it really sort of got me going.
And so now it is on to Detroit, where the Bulls will open the Eastern Conference Championships on Sunday. Last year, the Bulls were 0-6 in the regular season, but 4-2 in the playoffs against Detroit. This year, the Bulls were 1-4. And walking around that locker room after the game, I got a quiet confidence from the Bulls that this time, perhaps they can beat Detroit. We'll be there every step of the way. Live from Chicago Stadium, where the Bulls were successful tonight, I'm Jim Rose, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Tim?
All right, Jim, serious high five. We'll see you in a minute. Nice job. But as Jim knows, and you know, both the Cubs and Sox in action tonight. So let's begin with the white-hot White Sox going for their 5th win in a row at venerable Comiskey Park. The White Sox hero tonight was Carlos Martinez, an RBI double in the first and a solo shot in the third. Those are the runs the Sox needed as they won it 4-2. Waukegan native Jerry Kutzler, a 3-hitter through 6 innings. Here he K's Cal Ripken. The defensive play of the night, who else but Ozzie Guillen with a bare hand grab to complete a double play. The Sox win at 4-2. They're now 19-10, 2 games out of first. Bobby Thigpen, his 10th save. The chicken in Atlanta, but it was the Cubs who laid an egg tonight. As a matter of fact, John Smoltz threw goose eggs at the Cubs. The only runs Atlanta needed in the 5th inning, Oda B. McDowell with a double down the line. Ernie Witt and John Smoltz score. Atlanta goes on to win 4-0. Not one single Cub got past second base. Andre Dawson up 4 times. And Andre struck out 3 times, so his hot bat cooled off and the Cubs lost. Kevin Mitchell a homer in the 10th as Frisco beats the Mets. All right. Cincinnati-Pittsburgh rained out. Houston lost to St. Louis. Philly beats San Diego. Montreal and the Dodgers still going at it. Oakland over Cleveland on a home run in the 9th by Mark McGwire. California losing to Milwaukee. The Brewers will move into first. Dave Winfield said okay to that trade to California. He got a 1-year contract extension for $3.2 million. Seattle over Toronto. Detroit shutting out Texas, and Boston beat Kansas City. The fourth inning, the longest inning of Jeff Shaw's life. The Cleveland pitcher gave up back-to-back homers. First, Jose Canseco his 13th. Mark McGuire got his 10th of the season and later hit his 11th in the 9th to win it. And Ron Hasse finished the fourth inning trifecta, just getting inside the line. Oakland needed all three to win 7-6. A practice at Charlotte Motor Speedway early this afternoon. 27-year-old David Gaines spun out. His yellow car a sitting duck. Steve McEachern roars around that turn at 150 miles an hour, smashes into Gaines' car, and kills him instantly. Gaines suffered massive head injuries. McEachern suffered only cuts and bruises. That was the 7th fatality in the 31-year history of the Charlotte Speedway, and what a sad way to end the night. I'm sorry.
Well, that's our news.
Good night.